Hello hero, it's Lucy Lannon. This is the Twin Peaks Magician Longs to Sea deck. If you've seen the title, you know more than me, but I'm going to broadly ask, what is it that the collective needs to know right now? This is a general reading for a large audience, hopefully. Please like, subscribe, ding the dong, thank you kindly. And so not every message that comes out will be appropriate for everybody. Some stuff will hit, some stuff will be for someone else. Take what resonates for you, leave the rest for your friends. And if anything does hit, let me know in the comments, all right? Something else that's happening on the channel that I should say is that I'm going to be doing more kind of random requested pick a card type stuff, as well as the structured stuff that we've already got plenty of playlists of. If you want to check out those playlists, by all means do. But yeah, if you want to let me know in the comments of stuff that you would just like me to ask about, then we can do that, right? It can be love, it can be money, it can be a really specific question. Not too specific, because I would urge you book with me for that kind of thing. But just something that would benefit everybody that you kind of want to know, or that you've seen on any other channels, or that you just think would be groovy to come from me specifically, right? So, do these want to... That's clarifying this. Are you part of this? Yes, where are you going? You're clarifying this guy, okay. Sorry guys, give me a sec. We may pull in other decks on this, I'm not really sure yet, but usually this one's quite comprehensive, particularly because I'm a Twin Peaks fan. Is that here? Yeah. Yeah, it looks like we're getting 10 then. And one more, please. No. All right. The thing I've got in my head looping, which I feel is for me but also for you guys, is wasn't supposed to make it past 25. Joke's on you, we're still alive. I'm going to link it in the description. Again, this one may be relevant to my disabled collective because I know there's not that many readers sort of catering for you guys right now. And that particular lyric, I know that's not how it's designed in the song, but for me, it's very much about like prognoses and just defying the odds by going, whatever. But there's something to do with that song, so I don't know whether you're a fan or, I don't know. I hasten to add, the channeled songs that I get are not a reflection of my political opinions. I always feel I have to say that with that particular artist, or I do like his early stuff. Right. I'm going to just contemplate on these for a second. There'll be a quick cut, which hopefully you won't feel. Alright guys, I've repositioned Althea so that she hides less of the reading, but please do give her your love and encouragement through the screen as she oversees all of my readings, and she was very keen today. If you think I'm mad for talking to my plants, consider that they too are alive. I just feel like saying that for some of you, I don't know why. If you've got houseplants, talk to them, right? They want to be part of whatever it is that you're doing, particularly if you are an Aries, because I'm readjusting these horns. This is, I want to say it's to do with a business project that is sort of creative in nature or has an element of creativity to it, which if you're in any kind of job you enjoy, fingers crossed, it does, right? So that's a very broad general thing to say. Again, broad general reading if you didn't see the sort of intro bit. But there's something here that's leaving you very worried, very anxious, up at night possibly, because there is an element which is out of your control. I feel that you used to have what I want to call dominion over this situation. So whether you were in a supervisory role or you were generally in charge of where your career is going or something like that, and that has shifted in recent times and you are feeling very sort of put out. So aside from that, I also get, because there are a few majors, this is a big issue for you, right? And also with the Four of Wands here, it pertains to your stability. Material stability, yes, because Pentacles, but also there's something here about ego, about intellectual prowess, about reputation, about being seen as a certain kind of a person that is linked directly back to what other people are doing. Because I'm noticing that the solo figures here don't really have happy faces, or where they are happy figures, they're in reverse. And then the sort of group stuff is a little bit more on the malevolent side, right? We've got the burning of the mill. We've got stuff to do with Briggs, which then leads into weird time travel. Sorry, spoilers. We've got Leo and the girls, and then we've got Bob and the girls. So this is black hat type stuff. And I'm not saying that black hat stuff is going on directly with you, particularly because there's a bird come to my window that is a good signifier for me. So your ancestors are working with you at this time. But also it's not shady in the sense that the way that you feel this could go may take you down a path of having to do things for work that you don't really want to do. I'm feeling like if you had a fallback of something that you weren't keen on, or you had to put yourself in a position, dare I say, where not everything was entirely legal in the past, I think you're dealing with fears about having to go back to that kind of thing. I want to say because of a scarcity mindset that's going on. So this may not be reflective of your actual circumstance. And part of my message to relay to you is that spirit and ancestors are taking care of it. And that a lot of this is in the mind, right? But also to really examine where you're coming from in terms of your value systems and where you want to take this next, because this isn't just a problem of colleagues letting you down or people in a certain collaboration not pulling their weight or lack of equal exchange or people being tempted or any of the other things that we would traditionally interpret for these cards. It's also a problem of how you see, how you collaborate, and how successful you can see yourself being in relation to other people. Now, if you work completely solo, this is in relation to your numbers, your clients, your how much your brand is being responded to by other people, or how much you perceive that it is versus how much it actually is. There is assistance coming your way. There is well, not even coming your way, there is assistance behind you currently, right? And for some of you, this building in the background here is reminding me of a particular friend who had a very privileged education in a certain part of India in this building that I consider to be like a palace. Sorry guys, interruption there. I think, again, this speaks to your situation, right? Frequent interruptions. Yeah, when this friend showed me where they went to school, it was like a palace. I was pretty taken aback by the whole thing. And I feel that speaks to, yes, your stability feels under threat right now. Yes, you're anxious about it. But the central thing to do with this situation is that actually, in terms of your background resources, whatever they may be, whether they're educational or otherwise, you are in a position of privilege. And with the Twin Peaks bird symbol kind of turning up within this Four of Wands holiday/stability card, what I'm getting is that the way that you communicate, or indeed the gift of a certain form of communication for you, is either going to be your advantage or is already advantageous in a way that you're not seeing. So that's the first thing to say about all of this. But now I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of what's actually happened, because I feel like, yes, forewarned is forearmed, but I also need to kind of start this by saying this isn't an other people problem. This is an other people and you problem. And I say it with love. And what I mean is that you're not looking at the extent to which you're assisted, the extent to which you have advantageous elements, resources available. Check out my resources reading. I'll link it in the description. And just a position from which actually people will cheerlead you. People will cheer you on, right? It looks like Briggs and, come on, brain, Briggs' son, Bobby. It looks like Briggs and Bobby are cheerleaders in this particular scenario, right? If this is their high school, they are the cheer squad. That may be relevant for some of you in a very direct way. Hit me up in the comments if it is. But there's something here in terms of you being your own cheerleader, or you having advantageous elements and a spirit of joviality and a spirit of good communication, which means that other things are already cheering you on, other people are already cheering you on. For many of you who are a religious ilk or a spiritual paradigm, that includes your ancestors, your spirit guides. I'm hearing imaginary friends from when you were a kid who were not imaginary friends. This happens for some of us, right? That we figure out in adulthood that the spirits we were dealing with were actually spirits. Not for all, but for some, that's your confirmation. But there's some stuff here already cheering you on. And there's also a nod towards your potential and the fact that you will be cheered on. And the fact that when you are in despair, it's because you feel alone. You're perceiving yourself to be doing this alone, but you're not. You actually have a team behind you already in some way, right? So what's been happening to induce all of this stuff, or to sort of lead to all of this kind of pondering? We've got a lack of equal exchange here. We've got somebody kind of spying on the whole situation. This may be somebody higher up than you, or somebody that you fear is sabotaging your work in some way. But with the Page of Swords in reverse, I think either that has come to an end or it's going to come to an end pretty soon. I do feel like there's some kind of, what do I want to say? For some of you, this pertains to S work. No judgment on this channel. And I don't know whether that is direct or whether that's like OnlyFans and that kind of area that tends to lead to that stuff over time. Careful there, you know, take care of yourself, please. But there's something here, if it's not that, there's some kind of element of exploitation. And I wanted to say what you feel is exploitation, but actually I feel it is just objectively exploitative, right? There is a distribution of something, read Leo and his tokens, to you and at least one other person, possibly two, that is a bit shady, a bit dodgy, a bit like, why did you give us this form? Why did you tell us this stuff? Why are we in on this? Why are we part of this? And again, for some of you, that links back to this sense of falling back on prior criminality. No judgment on this channel, and you don't have to confirm, but that is there for some. If you're all above board and you wouldn't ever consider S work, and you know, this is not speaking to any of that, we're just talking about a situation in which your progress is being monitored, but somebody, not necessarily above you in experience, but certainly above you in terms of length of time in the workplace or stature within your business, is giving you information, feedback, a job to do, something like that, which is of a slightly dodgy nature. And you know it is, and your colleagues or peers know it is. But with this caged bird here, it's like something is not being said about that. There is some business or creative thing that you cannot speak up about the nature of, but you know it's dodgy. You feel it's dodgy. You feel that not everything is being transparently said to you. For some of you, this kind of spying element is because this is in like a monitoring situation. I'm hearing an exam setting, and that won't be literal for everyone for obvious reasons. If this is an educational reading rather than business, take it that way. It's meant to resonate for all who see it, right? But it's almost like you're being monitored in some way as to whether you can filter out the fact that this is fucked. And I use that word specifically because I feel that whoever is involved in this would be happy to use that kind of language, even if you are the sort of person who doesn't really like channels that do. And I am a channel that does. I don't believe it inhibits my ability to communicate effectively, but it also, in this case, speaks to the nature of like dealing with people who do speak like that, dealing with people who are very upfront. If this is S work, I feel that you are being told about a job for more money that might require more of you, that puts you in danger of some kind. And I would urge you to be very aware of that. And I know that this is being overseen in some way, whether that's just in terms of your numbers or what, I don't know how it all works. But that overseeing is actually going to come to an end. And I want you to make sure that you're not in a position where you're being put into danger because of what's going on, or because you took an offer that seemed very juicy on paper and seemed like it might solve a lot of your problems, but actually had a bunch of stuff attached to it that you don't need right now. Lack of reciprocity is really important to this as well. Whilst you are being offered something which is juicy, you'll see that the girls have their hands tied, and we know from the series that they're in an extremely vulnerable position. Whether or not they put themselves in it, they are there now, and it would, you know, they would do well to get out. Also, this kind of monitoring figure, with it being Bobby with the sword, is like, in this specific series situation, it doesn't matter if you haven't seen Twin Peaks, Bobby could be a person to run into this if he knew that it was happening and defend everybody concerned and kind of prevent a certain fate. Now, I'm not talking fate in a deterministic sense. I'm just talking in terms of a certain situation. The person looking in on this, I know it's Leland in this, but ignore that for a minute. Somebody overseeing or somebody kind of spying on numbers or whatever it is would be the person to prevent damage at the same time. Now, their spying coming to an end is positive in the sense that you're not being monitored, but also negative in the sense that you're not being monitored, because this person does not have your interests at heart. And again, if you work solo, this could be a client. It could be somebody who's offering a collaboration coming soon. Potentially somebody who's been in a certain industry longer than you. Potentially a very juicy offer, something that you would like to take. Something maybe that your kind of lesser impulses, so read those that are not about your spirituality and purpose, but are about things that are less of a priority in your life, or indeed about sex or money. Like, it appeals to that bit of you to take this, and it appeals to a sense of security as well, but I'm not sure that what it's advertising is actually what's been given, particularly because it is this 6. There is also a resistance sort of permeating around this of your client base, your audience, your distributors, different strokes for different folks, where they're quite resistant with their money. And that's been a problem as of late. And you felt suspended because of this. You felt like also you can't be... It's reduced your ability to be authentic in the workplace because you feel like you're catering to what other people are wanting you to sell them instead of what it is that you actually started this with a view to. And that's just as true if you're not in anything that has market value. If you're, I don't know, in data or something like that, where you're not selling, there's still something here about how your value system and priorities when you began this job have had to shift because of the kinds of money that are available to come in and the kinds of markets that are happening for whatever it is that your skill set is, okay? For some of you, this is also to do with your target market or your ideal company or whatever it is, being emotionally or socially resistant to taking on somebody like you. Read from your background or with your level of experience, or somebody who tells your specific tale. So I know we talked about privilege earlier, but by the same token, there may be some aspect of your training thus far that is putting people off you at, I want to say, like an emotional lizard brain level. And I know that emotional doesn't equate to lizard brain, but that's because this is a broad general reading, so speaking for a large audience. For some, this will be that something about the way you present yourself is putting people off at like the lizard brain level. So like, for instance, to use myself as an example, sometimes when I'm on cam, the way I look rubs people up the wrong way if they're very different, right? The fact that I'm from alternative culture, etc., etc., or that I look young for the age range that I am, I don't feel funny in saying that many people think I'm in my 20s and I'm in my late 30s. So this is the kind of thing I mean, right? You're presenting as different. And that's because we've got Dr. Jacoby in this one. What I want to say is, don't change how you are. Don't change how you're presenting. Don't change these things about you, because they are actually advantageous within certain other markets. But there is a need to acknowledge, possibly for confirmation, that within your particular industry or niche or whatever it is that you wanted to do educationally, there is a resistance to people like you doing it at a sort of gut response level. Now, if it's not that lizard brain kind of stuff, this is like an emotive reaction around a market not being catered to your particular niche at the moment. That could be because of world events, or it could be because of strikes I'm hearing for some of you. Excuse me, hiccups in my confirmation. I do apologise if it sounds impolite. Some of you have been involved in like the writer's strikes, etc., etc. And that has meant that coming out of that period, there are certain people less willing to hire or distribute or whatever it is because of what's just gone on politically speaking or in terms of unions, etc. And if you're not in those particular industries, this may also be related to the fact that you're in a union or unionisation in some other way. But there's something here, to sort of simplify it and take it back, that has meant that the way you authentically present in your work life or your educational life, if you're not yet in that place, is putting off your target market or your interviewer or whatever it is, at a level that is sort of underneath what you can control. It's emotionally reactive, or it's lizard brain, or it's to do with their security, which obviously you're not the determinant of. And as a result, there is less flow coming in terms of cash. So you're feeling like, well, should I go back on how it is that I present to other people? Should I reassess what it is that I'm doing and maybe sort of not subtract on some of your values, but maybe rephrase them in a way that's like sneakily sort of chipping into them, eroding them? This, as well as water, to me looks like ice in the background, and that makes me think of land erosion over time, which makes me think of you setting out with a particular purpose, maybe even a spirit-led purpose or a divine vocational kind of an idea, and then the market adapting so much that you feel your security's at threat and you're like, well, can I adjust those values? But those adjustments are melting what you went in with or chipping away at it in some way. And I want to say, universe is urging you, don't compromise on who you are, on how you present, just because this has been ambiently happening. Because in the same way as a glacier moving through a place, it may take a long time, but this particular tide will shift, right? And what's left is the strength of land, the strength of mountains, which represent achievement. You will remain after these changes in the market, right? Whatever market that is. And again, varies a lot. But I feel like this is referring back to this, because whatever opportunity has recently come in for you or is about to come in terms of someone offering something that looks juicy and isn't, you will be more tempted to go with it because of adjustments to what you feel is your primary security. I'm also, I've just fed the birds before the start of my reading, and there is a latecomer who is now looking at me mournfully, as if to say, you didn't put anything out for us today. I did, mate. Everybody got in before you. I'm really sorry. The allocated amount is set, right? Bless him. I hope he finds something. But this is telling me, as my feedback, that you may feel you were late to a particular industry, or that other people who spent more time or got in early bird catches the worm style before you, it's confirmation, he's just flown away, you may feel they have an advantage in terms of security over you. And what I want to say is, just because you were late to something, it doesn't mean there's nothing there, or it doesn't mean that you can't get something, right? So again, all of this so far is saying, don't let your paranoia about a certain situation work-wise get the better of you. Consider offers with logic brain, not with your own lizard brain or with your own emotional centre, and really evaluate whether they're good for you, or whether at a gut level, and I'm presuming you have some kind of intuitive nudge or you wouldn't be on a tarot channel, right? Consider whether at a gut level you feel okay about this stuff, because I feel like it's shifty. I feel like Leo is a really bad character to represent anything, as is Jack here, right? And one-eyed Jack's as a token thing is like dirty money, or money that's like you don't want to have to do the things you do for that money, or it's gambling with possibilities in some way, right? It's not a good thing overall to have one-eyed Jack's tokens represent pentacles, which usually are a symbol of protection. So this is kind of unprotected, unassured money, investments that aren't so great. Again, your privilege, your past, may weigh in on this in a way that other people cannot compete with. The way that you communicate with your authenticity may end up being an asset and may also allow you more free time than other people. What I'm getting is a future for you where you kick back more than your peers, or you have more time to rest, to recuperate between projects than other people in your industry or in your educational thing do, because you are already at some kind of advantage, and only you can tell what that advantage is. If you know what it is and it's confirmed, hit me up in the comments. I'd love to know. But something about it's tied into this, like it's almost like the way you feared to represent yourself is actually going to be your asset, right? So if you're from a particular group which might be disadvantaged in the workplace in some way, what I want to say is, particularly in the current climate, play it up, right? It's not unethical to say things that would have weighed against me in previous decades are now a reason for me to speak to a certain audience specifically, or a reason for me to be acknowledged fairly in times that are changing, in markets that are changing, however stubbornly, right? And it's no coincidence that we have, a straight, cis, white man sat holding these coins, who has been involved in dodgy deals and nefarious stuff. So for some of you, like, I'm not one to say play a card in terms of victim mentality or in terms of doing yourself damage by over-identifying into a certain role. But if you are different in some fashion, same, use it, right? And don't use it, don't be afraid to use it because the people who are just in charge find it a bit of a threat that they have to include you now. Okay, so if there is a diversity quota for a specific university, or if you are somebody who's unusual in your field, for example, a man doing tarot, a man of colour doing tarot, etc., etc., throw your shit out there, my dude. Play it for all it's worth, because right now, what people are seeking in a more general tide sense is a diversity of opinions, expressions, and beliefs in whatever it is that they're flocking to. And again, if you're not selling anything, this could be to do with how you brand yourself within your industry, particularly because there is a mirror on the floor here, and the mirror is reflecting back up to Leo in black. So we've got this like engine oil thing going on of like, no, he's from the Black Lodge. Again, you don't have to have seen Twin Peaks, but this is just saying those who are nefarious, those who are offering deals which are not reciprocal, are about to be exposed in a broader way. That's just the climate we're in. Yes, it has horrible side effects like cancel culture that are a bit sort of trigger happy and often run by people with unresolved shit. But at the same time, if you can use the culture to be aware of who is being exposed and for what, and be aware that anybody sort of stamping on you to get where they are is about to be exposed, then that is an advantageous position from your end, whether or not you feel you are overall at a disadvantage, okay? So this is very much about identifying within a certain demographic, but also not being victim mentality about that, not being tribalistic about that, because that's another danger with social media and cancel culture. We sort of isolate ourselves to the point of not taking in other opinions and just presuming that other people are terrible because they're different to us. We don't want to do that either, right? But you know where your balance is at. You know where your background privilege is at, even if it doesn't seem like a privilege. You know where your educational and communication skills lie. And all of this can be used to make you less worried, to take you out of suspension, and to push you into, okay, there's no longer somebody monitoring and defending me, but I can still make my own decisions and express myself really well within my particular niche, no matter what the market is doing, no matter what dodgy shit is happening and being offered to me. Wow, that felt like a lot. Let's move on to these final four, shall we? There is a breaking away of some patterns, some temptations, some bad habits within your work. I don't feel actually this is as much to do with this. It's a signifier of certain industries, shall we say, but this feels like it's more about you. And this is the major thing. This is the crux of the transformation within the reading. All of this stuff is a good heads up, but what really needs to be developed in all of my readings on this channel, subscribe if you like my ethos, is you, right? Is your attitude to things, is what you can change. What I'm big on in this channel is your locus of control, affecting that and saying fuck it to everything else. I can give you a good heads up on what everybody else is doing, but in the end, we can't change another person's behaviour. And indeed, magically, we shouldn't try, right? And that stuff can come back to you. For some of you, you've been sending some of that stuff back, or you've just received someone sending some stuff back and you're learning lessons about that, right? But that's for a minority. I just feel I should say it because the devil is present, as is the owl, right? But there is a sense here of you breaking away from how it is that you used to be, how it is that you used to live, indeed what it was that used to tempt you, from a place of fear, from a place of anxiety, from worries about security, rather than from looking at what it is that's advantageous for you and using it, right? So again, speaking to this idea of not falling into victim mentality, I feel like something about your education or your work, even just like your creative projects, if you're wanting to monetize them, there was an element of that which spoke to you operating from a place of fear, and I say it with love, you feeling like things were all about to come crashing down and you were resisting changes that needed to happen because of those fears. And it was all tied in with your ideas about security, long-term stability. For some of you, how much holiday time you can take, how much rest time you can take. Rest is huge if you are differently abled. My dudes, we cannot take the productivity advice that everyone else takes. Okay? Read your spoon theory, learn it. I don't care whether it's a physical problem you've got. I don't care whether it's cognitive or other in nature. But if you are differently abled in any other sense, or any sense, sorry, to any of your peers, any of your colleagues, that shit needs rest. And I mean emotionally as well. You need more holiday time, and you need days that are structured around when you have energy and not around when other people want you to do everything. I know that's difficult if you're in like an office setting or some other form of 9 to 5, but there are still ways to go about your self-monitored time that allow for you doing the crux of the work first up when you have the most energy. Or conversely, if you have like chronic fatigue and getting out of bed is a problem, batching tasks to the point in the day that you feel most energetic. And I don't care whether that fits with your family. I don't care whether it happens at 4 a.m. and you get a sudden burst. There's something here about needing to manage and monitor that time really efficiently if you are in my differently abled collective. I found a book really useful. I think I referenced it in the last Lunar as well. It's called The One Thing. It's not catered to disability, but it contains good advice for time management when you're operating with limited spoons. And I'm going to link spoon theory down below for those of you who are like, what is limited spoons? I get tired in the day, or I get cognitive fatigue, or I get emotional disruption. That could be relevant, and I don't know what it is. Have a look in the links, okay? Every description, I put a load of links that may be useful, so check it out down below. If you're not differently abled, thank you for hearing us out. Thank you for taking that time for us fellow mutants to discuss our needs, right? But this is to do with, again, habitual patterns for you, how you organise your work life, how you, for some of you I'm hearing how you weigh in your identity to the way in which you operate in the workplace. That's interesting, isn't it? So there's something here about your beliefs, about what it is that you can have, or what it is that you feel entitled to versus allowed to have. And those two things may cover the same thing, right? So what I'm getting here is that if you have had either a victim mentality or a fear mentality around security, it is directly affecting what you feel it is that you're capable of earning or doing in your work and educational life. But simultaneous to that, there is another part of you which has a sense of entitlement, whether egoic or divine entitlement, to a certain amount, to a certain level of recognition, to a certain level of acknowledgement from your peers, from your clients, etc. So there is a push-pull here that is not just sort of you unchaining from previous habits and ways of working, but is also, how do I say this, Spirit? It's like you reconciling the part of you that feels that you should have certain things in this realm of life, and the part of you that's like, because I'm different, I can't have those things, or because I work like this, I'm shouldn't be allowed those things, or because I received this messaging about money in childhood, it's not right for me, or I can't have it, or, you know, other people who do have it, they're just doing this thing and I don't count, right? Examine all of that. For some of you, particularly if you're in hairdressing or beauty or something like that, because I've just spotted a lime green hair, which I'm going to remove from the table. And again, that may speak to you presenting as somebody in alternative culture, as I do, and then like really over-identifying with this thing of like wanting to be different, be expressive, be true to the way that you see beauty being expressed in the world, which certainly is why I do it. It's not rebellion. But then also like an identification with that in terms of, and other people should accept this, so fuck them if they're not, right? And that leading to like an animosity around your professional life. So for some of you, like, you're going to a job where you can't fully express yourself as is, just in terms of how you present, how you identify, and there's like a push-pull with how much you want to earn in that industry because you're like aware that you're sabotaging your expression in the world. Times are changing with that. I mean, I'm saying this to you as someone who does a day job where she can, I'm literally, I don't know what you can see. I'm wearing my comfort flight suit right now, okay? I'm in lime green hair, which is partially kind of braided into weird shit. No makeup, but like weird stuff going on with highlighted moisturisers, so I look kind of shiny. Clearly covered in tattoos, black nails. You know, I don't look the part for a entrepreneurial professional 20 years ago. And I'm in an advantageous position to be able to do that and present how I want. And I feel like if I'd gone into a workplace or even, hello, please give me a loan, 20 years ago, again, they would have thrown me out and I would have had to dye my hair brown, put on some heels and wear a pencil skirt like every fucker else. So there's a sense of like progression with what people are allowed to express as in the world, and this may relate to gender and things like that as well for you, I don't know. Confirmation in the comments. But there's also like a resistance from your end of like, even though those changes are happening to smaller extents, they're not fully happening and I'm not happy about it. And on some level, my dude, that's affecting how much you feel you're able to receive financially. It's stopping you from being not just the best little worker bee for somebody else, but also the best recipient of abundance that you can be. And I'm not saying, again, definitely not saying compromise your authenticity. I sure as shit haven't. What I am saying is examine the extent to which your expression is tied up with how much you feel you can receive from the world. Because what you believe about what other people will give you based on who you are is paramount to this, right? You're resisting some kind of shift. And I don't even want to say circumstantially, I think it's a mindset shift. I think there needs to be some like work in therapy or in journals or whatever it is that you do, whether it's, you know, just meditating on stuff, asking spirit. There's some kind of conscious work here about like, I am such and such, so I believe I can't have such and such, or I believe times are hard or things are scarce. And that means I get exactly what I believe and I'm sick of it and I'm angry, right? There's a lot of fire here and there's a lot of destructive stuff. You may be even working with, I'm hearing like destructive divine feminine, so things like Medusa, Kali, Baba Yaga, Lilith even for some of you, none of whom are negative, by the way. They're all wonderful energies, shall we say, energies, entities, contracts, whatever it is that you do. they're all beneficial in different ways, and they all have profound wisdom attached to them, which is very much societally misunderstood and or painted as, nasty or demonic or manipulative or whatever. But if you are working with any of those things listed or anything adjacent to that, I'm hearing the Morrigan as well, some. What I want to say is, give this to them, right? Go to that deity or that energy or that story, even if you're a writer, with this idea about who you are and what you're allowed to have, and surrender it and say, I'm really struggling with this, actually. I think my beliefs are not in alignment with what it is that I feel entitled to receive on a cosmic level. And that's showing up in my reality in really disturbing ways, particularly for those of you where danger is a factor in your work. And that's not everyone, and I don't want to alarm you, but some of you know that the work you do is a little bit dangerous, and that this shifty character can have a really long, far-reaching effect on you, or a physical effect on you. Because it is a heavy pentacles reading, I'm urged to say, protect yourself spiritually and physically in terms of what you do next, but also really examine any anger around this. I do feel the change will happen whether or not you resist it. I think if you're not willing to do this mindset work now, and again, we focus on ourselves on the channel, not things we can't change, climates we can't change. If you don't do it now, there's going to be something coming in to do with that climate that will make you do it. And that's not always a happy process. And I speak from real experience when I say that, having worked up in a particular career for years and years, and then because I wasn't doing the thing I knew I should be doing, literally had it ripped out of my hands, couldn't earn money for literal years, gap in employment, went partially blind, all kinds of dramatic stuff, right? Again, not fear-mongering, just saying that if you're not doing the work and you know what the work is, spirit will boot you up the arse. And that's even more so if you are working with the dark goddesses, as I was, right? And the same things that I'd come to for my liberation were like, wicked, the way to liberate you is to make you really, really ill. So you have to give up this entire line of work and do tarot. Your wake-up call is about to happen, my dude. And the extent to which you're already engaged with spirit and you already know that you're protected and you're willing to really take an honest look at yourself and your beliefs around money is the extent to which actually this could be an easier process for you. It makes me think of recent lessons I've had in astrological transits and conversations about how even the really sort of big, dangerous, scary, world-affecting transits that are going on right now, like Saturn, like Pluto, that have been sort of doing their thing since 2020, they're easier on the individualistic transit activation level if you are engaged with what they mean in advance and you are willing to do the work on yourself to be sort of exempt from that particular climate in some way. That's not whitewashing, that's not spiritual meritocracy. It's not saying that some people deserve conflict and some people don't. It's nothing like that. That's all ridiculous. But what I'm saying is that larger events have less of an effect on the personal. If on the personal you are tied to your purpose, you know what you're doing, you're not compromising your values, and you're using it to fucking help people, because that's the other part of this. It's a lot of self-focus here. It's a lot of like money in a big picture sense in terms of will I survive? And you're being asked by seeing this reading to shift your money mindset, not just into will I be okay? Because if you're working with spirit, you will, but also to how can I be of service, right? And if you're dealing with difficult transits, particularly, let me think, like anything involving Jupiter, anything involving Chiron, oftentimes Pluto, these are all about your service to the world. And anything you've got going on activated in the 6th at the moment, again, duty, service, habits and habit formation and finding your one thing, but also your obligation to other people in that very sort of benefic Virgoan sense, right? If you don't speak astrology, we're just saying you're examining your day-to-day habits and your day-to-day work life, not just in the sense of what it gives you, but in terms of your reciprocity back to the world, and particularly a world that is going through a destructive time, and spoilers, might get worse before it gets better as I'm filming this, okay? Right, we're going to move out of that because I feel like I've said enough there, and if you feel like you want to pick it apart bit by bit and like rewatch that section, I would encourage you to do so. Not for numbers or anything like that, but because there's a lot in there. There's a lot of steps to examine. It's quite a dense task that you're being given here. This was meant to be a quick fire reading, and it's quite in depth, and I feel that that speaks to how complex your process could be around these things, okay? Okay, so we've got a morgue in reverse, so like, don't fear the end is what I want to say to you first. It's like, if you were terrified of getting the death card as well as the tower, catastrophic things are not about to happen if you're doing all of this, if you're engaged with it, if you understand what I've been saying and you're willing to do some work on yourself and on how you present at work, right? And present is a thing as well, because for some of you, I'm feeling this is the pull between alternative expression and workplace expression, and I really get it. But look into that and look into why you express a certain way in terms of how you can offer that value back to the world. Sorry, I'm going back on myself. We need to stay here. We've also got Albert Rosenfeld in the reverse, so if you have been hasty with your words, a little sweary with your language, a little bloodsheddy in your work environment, coming for people who piss you off, etc., this is just a heads up, maybe don't do that quite so much because this is affecting things, and it's going to hold you back in what it is your job to do. But also I feel like a period of indecision is coming to an end. I don't know whether this is speaking to whether or not you choose to go with this, and it's clearly a don't, right? Or whether it's more like an indecision in terms of the overall direction of your purpose or career is going to be mended by doing this work on yourself and your abundance. But there's some kind of like, okay, we have the information that we need now. And remember, this morgue scene is setting the scene right at the beginning of all the adventures of the series to say, this is our information gathering / exposition scene. And once that's done, we have what we need to move forward, and we don't need to revisit all this, right? This has been clarified by the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So this is, I want to say, the end of a period of reflection, but also the end of a period of counting your coins in a very literal sense, because the Seven of Pence in the sort of more traditional, like Smith-Waite end of tarot, is about taking stock of resources, particularly in autumn if you're seeing this live. It's going through the storehouse of the crops harvested, the things gathered, the tools still available and not rusted or whatever, and taking stock of what it is that you have and attending to existing resources. For some of you, this is putting money that you have into a safer account or an investment or an ISA. Confirmation. I feel pulled to say that in the UK we don't get an adequate financial education. And I know there's a lot of free resources out there on finances, but they tend to be catered to America. So I'm just briefly, if you'll forgive me, going to speak to my UK people here, particularly if you're like on the younger side and you don't really know much about money or anything. I'm just kind of learning this for myself in my self-parenting journey, so I'm going to share it with you. You can have a regular ISA and a stocks and shares ISA in the same year, and you can put up to 20 grand in each. I know for many of you won't have that, but what I'm saying is that if you set up one or both of these things and you keep putting whatever you do have into it, this is stuff that isn't taxable, that is interest that is higher than any other account rates, that the government can't take from us no matter what rules they put in place, okay? Particularly under a Conservative government, that might be highly relevant to some of you. Stocks and shares ISAs are a bit more tricky because you're putting stuff into stocks that may fluctuate, particularly with what's going on in the world. So do your research on that. If I can find good financial channels, I'll link them. But if I don't remember or don't really know what to send you, my UK finance people, hit me up in the comments with all your resources. Help your brothers and sisters out, yeah? So you can put a set amount in. If it's stocks and shares, it'll fluctuate, but you're likely to get more of a kind of interest on what it is that you put there. If it's a set ISA, it won't change in terms of interest for the year, but also you can't add more than a certain amount. You also get, I think it's 20, but correct me on that in the comments if I'm wrong. You get 20k in what you can put into a savings account, additional to your current account. So if you're making money, it's just sitting in a current account, or dare I say a jar, take advantage of these things. You know, that's effectively like 20k plus 20k, so it's like 40k of allowance that you can put somewhere where the money is growing, even if it's only growing a tiny bit, and do that before April, and then make sure you do it again before the next April, because the other thing is you can open one of these ISAs per year in each category, right? So your overall ISA amount, I think, is 20, but you can open both kinds of ISA in a year, so you could put like 10 in one, 10 in another, if you have that, or 5 quid in one, 5 quid in another, my dude, because it'll grow, it's worth it, right? And then obviously you get your savings allowance on top of that. So do that, because we don't get the advantage that Americans get of like, I forget what it's called, but that account that they can kind of keep till retirement and keeps growing and growing, and it's always protected. We have to do like, I'm opening an ISA here, I'm opening a savings account here, and we have to adjust for the rates over the years. I'll link Martin Lewis's website below as well, because he compares all these rates every year and tells you the best deals to get and stuff. I'm a big sucker for him, as many UK people who've come from poverty are, because he really does know his shit, and he'll explain all of this better to you as well. That is just for my UK people. Invest your money, right? Or keep it somewhere safe if you are in dodgier times, dodgier climes. For some of you, it will be investing in material assets as well. Careful on that, because the non-digital standard, like, there's a reason people are pushing for people to invest in gold and stuff right now, and it's because that stuff after crypto is actually kind of becoming less valuable over time, like over a long time. But again, if you're in my prepping community or anything like that, you might want to do that for the short term. You do you. Again, exchange in the comments, please, about what people know, what people think is good to do, bad to do, etc. I am not a financial advisor. Please, I feel a legal obligation to say at this point, this reading is for entertainment purposes only. I cannot offer any advice which is pertinent to any particular industry with any real credibility. So do your own research, and any actions that you take in any direction with any field or any workplace stuff is completely on you, okay? I hold no liability for anything that happens. That being said, talk to each other about what you want to do, okay? Right. That's that bit over with my UK audience particularly. I'm sorry, worldwide audience, but again, if you're from somewhere else in the world and you know that, like, if you're a subscriber, then there might be other people in your place that are subscribers, hit me up with like what you do to save money, to do to grow your money, etc. in the comments. You know, all kinds of techniques welcome, all kinds of information from different places in the world welcome. We want to help each other out. So if you're stumbling upon this, look in the comment section. It might be that you either need to feed into that, or that you need to take advice from someone down there, and that's why you're seeing it. I'm also drawn to the fact that there's this stag in the background, and some of you who've been long-time viewers / subscribers, and I love you, thank you, you'll know from one of my love readings that this sometimes to me is about going off for a calling in a way that appears dangerous at the time, but is beneficial over time. And it usually pertains to somebody outside of you and not to you directly. So what I mean is that while you're doing this reevaluating in a non-physical and a physical sense, there may be somebody that you're close to or someone around you that goes off on their own journey. This could be related directly to work and to these people discussed, or because of what I associate with this, it could be someone in your personal life, particularly your love life, going off doing their own thing for a sec. What I want to say is, don't be alarmed if that happens, because they are going to return, okay? And that's what I want to leave this with. Indecision is coming to an end. Evaluation is super important, my dude, but also in the more short-term beginning bit of this reading, don't take any risks that look fine and juicy at the time but are actually based on fear or based on an idea of lack of security. Because security is about allegiance to spirit. It's about alignment with purpose. It's about whether you're praying, whether you're asking to be sped on and sped forward. And I'm presuming that if you're on a tarot channel, you're not completely without belief, even if that belief is in yourself and in your own resourcefulness. So be really careful about what it is that you're afraid to do, but also look at how those fears in the past, or how issues of identity and expression might be in conflict with what it is that you want in your ideal abundant situation. And again, I'm going to recommend the book The One Thing, partly because it helps you hone in on what your financial goals actually are without disruptions in communication, as just experienced by myself, right? To do with what you should be expecting financially. Right? Who fucking knows? Don't listen to them. Or indeed what's expected of someone, your age, gender, race, level of physical ability, level of cognitive ability, yada, yada, yada. Okay? Do the work, right? If you're here on the channel, we're here to do the work. Do the work. It's not, I don't want to say it's not hard, but once you know what the challenge is, it's not that challenging, and life starts to click into place once you engage with it. What I found in all of my patches where I was urged to do this stuff is that once you're actually sitting down with a journal or something and addressing it, everything becomes easier, everything starts to click into place. It's the devil is in like avoiding it and putting it off and saying everything that happens to me is external to me. And you know, if you're on a tarot channel, that's not the whole truth, okay? We can absolutely influence what happens with us. That's not saying if bad stuff has happened to you that it's your fault, but it is saying, again, on this channel, we're operating from our locus of control and we're doing the most we can with the most we're given. If this was useful to you, please do like, please subscribe, and please share with other people. As you can see, I'm quite a small channel. Or at least at the time of upload. I don't know when you're seeing this. And I have a big message, so I would like to get big. Share me like mad with everybody you know, okay? Particularly if this was helpful. All comments help me out. They help increase the algo. They help with, engagement statistics in general, and then I can help more people. So if you have found any part of this useful, even just one snippet, one iota of what I've said, the reciprocity, the energy exchange here, and possibly with other readers if you've not been doing this, is to just give me a thumbs up or a subscription, or to say to your mate, hey, I had this really useful reading, check it out, okay? That's all I'm asking of you. Yes, this is my income. Yes, you can book with me privately down below for more specific stuff, and I urge you to consider that. Yes, there's also a PayPal link if you want to buy me a coffee. Love you, appreciate it. But if you don't do any of those things, this is a reading about reciprocity. This is a reading about spiritual exchange of giving and receiving. Please give it a like or give it a subscription. And if you've done those things, bless you, I love you. You're what keeps me going, all right? Thank you. Take care.